I want to talk about the magic horses in Kingdom Come Deliverance. I have a small problem with their somewhat mystical, demonic nature. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a criticism, I suppose, and I don't want you to get the wrong impression and think that this means I don't like the game. Spoiler alert, I haven't done my review yet. I'm going to wait till I've finished the game, and I'm pretty close to finishing it, I think. I am going to wait before I do my review, but spoiler alert, I love this game, okay? I think it's absolutely brilliant. Probably my favourite game since Witcher 3, and I actually think it's an achievement because of what they've done with the game, because they've pushed the boundaries and they've not been afraid to make the player work for it. And in some ways, that's what makes the magic horse thing so jarring. It feels completely out of place in Kingdom Come Deliverance. Now, I could have waited until I did the review and mentioned it then, but I want to talk about it in some detail. And I know some people judge how much you like a game by how much time you spend talking about the good things and how much time you spend about the bad things. But that's not quite how I work. Whenever I discuss the bad things, I like to discuss in detail why and offer up some suggestions. So I don't want to get the review bogged down in a discussion about the magic horse, because it's in the context of this game and how great it is, it's probably 0.1% of what I would consider when deciding how good the game is. However, let's get on with it. As you can see, I'm hungry. Actually, that kind of works well because it highlights one of the things that this game is all about. The fact that you have to look after your, your basic needs, such as hunger. Yeah? You need to do things like keep yourself clean. So what is the magic horse effect? In Kingdom Come Deliverance, you can whistle for your horse and your horse will come, which is great. That's a brilliant feature. I love that. However, if you get far enough away from your horse, the horse will not trot over to you, but instead will teleport. Now, it can depend how far it is away. There you go. Horse teleports, appears behind you usually. They're trying to give you the illusion that the horse didn't teleport, but you can see it clearly, and I find it somewhat jarring. Another aspect of your magic horse is the saddlebags. These are the saddlebags. But you can access the saddlebags from anywhere. You can run into a building, into an inn, you can stand in the middle of a river, and you can continuously access your saddlebags. And yeah, you can transfer things into your inventory and vice versa, and there's no problem. Magic saddlebags, magic teleporting horse, and it's kind of jarring in a game like this. Now, I know why they've done it. They've done it for convenience, so you can just travel off into the middle of nowhere, and then when you finally get bored and think, oh, I better go back, you whistle for your horse and your horse appears. And the same's true of the saddlebags. You can wander off out there, kill a load of bandits, pick up their gear, get overloaded, and then just magically teleport the gear from your backpack to the horse, who may even be back in town. Right? Oh, and then you can magically teleport your horse to you and then ride back to town. This is just totally out of character for this game, in my opinion. It's odd. This is a game that forces you to consider hunger, how tired you are. It forces you to figure out your gear, how you look when you speak to people. Do you look like a scruffy mercenary? Do you look like a knight? Do you look like a nobleman? Do you look like a beggar? The game will have the NPCs change how they talk to you depending on how you are dressed. You need to look after the condition of the clothes and armor and your weapons. If you get blood on your sword, you need to run off and clean the sword. If you want to get your clothes cleaned, you have to go to the bathhouse and clean it. So why is convenience suddenly so important with the horse? Why is this the one area where we're not allowed to be inconvenienced? Because to my mind, if I leave the horse here, let's say I ride off into the forest and I leave my horse in the forest and then I run around the forest and I lose my horse, that's my own fault. That's something I should take into account. This is why what you should always do is leave your horse near some landmark or somewhere where you know you can find the horse. Because otherwise, you're going to have to run around the forest trying to find your horse. And to me, that is completely okay, especially in a game like this. This is a game that sort of forces you to do that. If you're fighting a bandit and he runs off wounded and dies in the forest, you might have a hard time finding his body. If you've got to find something in this game, especially if you're on hardcore mode without the bloody compass, it's kind of difficult. You have to look at your map and then look at the landmarks and try and figure out where things are. I mean, maybe this should have been something that was in hardcore mode, but I think your horse should only come if you're within earshot, and it should never teleport. And if you lose your horse in the forest, yeah, you're going to have to run around the forest whistling like a maniac until you find your horse and learn a valuable lesson, which is don't leave your horse lying around. In fact, I'm going to go one step further and say I think there should be a mechanic whereby your horse wanders a little bit. You know, maybe only a couple of meters per minute. Unless he starts getting hungry, in which case maybe he has to wander over to some grass and starts eating. And if he gets thirsty, he has to wander over to the stream and drink. And that could mean if you've left your horse for long enough, your horse may not even be where you left it and you have to run around looking for him. I mean, there's a quest in the game where you're trying to find a horse, but why can't you try and find your own? And I actually think there should be a mechanic whereby you can tether your horse, like, you know, just tie him up to a post or a fence or a tree branch. But although that keeps him in one spot, if you leave him for too long and he hasn't got grass and water right next to him, and you come back 3 or 4 days later, dead horse. I mean, to me, that just seems to be like you should be able to feed your horse directly or let him graze. You should be able to groom your horse. And if you've groomed the horse, maybe he performs a little better. And there should be a stable, because once you become rich, you don't need to groom your own horse. You go to something like the bathhouse only for a horse. Maybe there could be a stable near to the bathhouse. So you just leave your horse with the stable hand, and he grooms the horse. And the horse gets a really big bonus the same way you do when you visit the bathhouse for various, you know, services. Something like that. Yeah, it's a little inconvenient. You have to start thinking more about where you've left your horse, the same way as you have to think about the condition of your gear, what you're wearing, what the you know, cleanliness of your gear is. But as you can see, it fits in with the vibe of the game, in my opinion. Now, I know a lot of people probably don't want that kind of level of having to manage things, although again, totally in character with this game, so maybe it should only be something for hardcore mode. But at the very least, in hardcore mode, the horse should not teleport, and I don't think you should be able to access the saddlebags from the middle of nowhere. I shouldn't be able to run out into the forest butt naked, right? And then leave all my stuff on the horse, then just run into the forest naked, and then just magically have my stuff appear on me. If I do something stupid like that, I should pay for it, in my opinion. Now, in some ways, you can self-control the way you play with this mechanic. So, for example, generally speaking, if you've been watching my Let's Play, you'll notice I only whistle for the horse when I think the horse is in walking distance. But I've been caught out a few times where the horse has teleported, even though it looked like the horse should be close enough for me to whistle without the teleportation. It's happened a few times and it is jarring. So, no, it's okay there. And you can, of course, elect never to use the magic saddlebags. But because of this mechanic, I think the developers got a little lazy when testing certain things or when thinking about certain things. So, for example, there are cutscenes where you will ride off on your horse from somewhere, say a camp. You'll ride off, you will travel halfway across the map, you will climb off your horse, you will then talk to somebody, and then go into a fight with that somebody. I don't want to discuss the exact quests I'm thinking of, but you'll fight that person or those people, and then you'll turn around to see where your horse was, where you clearly dismounted in the cutscene, and your horse isn't there. And indeed, if you run back to the original camp where you rode out of, where you saw yourself ride out of on the cutscene, the horse is there. Now, this is just a little jarring for someone like me, and it shows that the developers just assumed that after the fight, you turn around and go, oh, where's the horse? Oh. And then magically teleport the horse there, rather than actually having the game move the horse for you, which I think the game should have done. You see a cutscene where you climb on a horse, ride halfway across the map, climb off your horse. The horse should be where he was in the cutscene, in my opinion. So even though you can self-regulate the use of this mechanics, there are times when you either have to, well, really inconvenience yourself and run back, even though you're utterly convinced you brought your bloody horse with you. You saw it in the cutscene. Or just use the mechanic and mentally say to yourself, yeah, I'm fixing a bug. So, not a perfect situation. And again, I'm going to reiterate this. This is such a minor issue, and there'll be people thinking, well, why are you making a video about it? Because I like talking about things like this. And honestly, the horse maintenance idea is something I would almost like to see in a future Kingdom Come game. I mean, you know, it may be in hardcore mode only. I would like to see the horse get a little more attention, require a bit more maintenance, require a bit more thought. There are quests in Kingdom Come Deliverance that are harder if you don't have a teleporting quest. There is one quest where you have to chase someone who climbs on their horse and rides off. With the magic horse, you can whistle and climb on your horse and chase him. No problem. But if, like me, you left your horse 300 or 400 meters away, well, you shouldn't be able to do that. You should pay the price for that. If you didn't want to stay on your horse because you wanted to sneak unseen for half a kilometer, and then someone gets on their horse and rides off, well, tough. You made the decision to sneak. You made the decision to leave the horse behind. You don't get to magically teleport onto your horse just because it's convenient. At least that's how I would have had this game. In other games, I get it. People just want the convenience. They just want to ride quickly from fight to fight, and they don't want to manage these sort of details. But if that's the sort of game you were looking for anyway, the chances are you hated Kingdom Come Deliverance. So I don't think making the horse a little more, demanding of your time would be that big a negative. But as I said, maybe it should be an option. I'm always against forcing other people to play the way you want them to play. So I'm very reluctant to say, this should be forced on everybody. Kill all the horses. If you don't look after your horse should die. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I'd kind of like an option so that I would have to face that very real possibility. And now there are people going, why would you want that? Why would you want your horse to die? That would be horrible. That would be terrible. You'd have all that stuff on the horse and you wouldn't be able to carry it back to town. You'd have to go buy a new horse. And then you'd have to ride back to your horse's corpse. And you'd have to transfer all the stuff. It would be so annoying. Yeah. That's kind of what I want. And I know there are some people who just don't understand that. I get it. But then ask yourself a question. Why would you want your gear to get dirty?
Henry, I'm glad you came.
Why would you want people to respond to the fact that you're disgustingly dirty and covered in blood? Why would you want to have to go and bathe to clean that blood and dirt off? Because it's the same reason I want to have to look after my horse. It's the same thinking. It's the same mentality. I want to have to look after my horse the same way as I want to have a game make me look after myself. I enjoy that aspect of this game, and I would enjoy that. So that's it. I do appreciate this is probably going to be a controversial subject, and so I'm going to reiterate this again. Still love the game. Absolutely love the game. This is not something that's, changed my opinion of the game. It's just something that occasionally irks me. Usually when I can't find pebbles because of a cutscene and I've had to use the teleporting thing. There's a little thing about it. I feel like I've lost and had to resort to a bit of a magic mechanic. And I don't like that. Don't hate me too much in the comments, okay? Thanks for listening.